8 keys to self-love. Key number 6, being enough. Hello lovelies, it's Tiina here from Own, Kind and Wonderful, helping you reclaim who you truly are. So, 8 keys to self-love. Key number 6, enough, being enough. So a lot of people talking about, for a long time now, but still talking about this sense of we are not feeling that we are enough in various ways, right? So we've got Brene Brown. I'm going to talk a little bit about Brene Brown at first in this video. Then Marisa Peer, who also talks a lot about that and does public speaking around that. And then there's a few exercises for you to do to kind of break the grip of that not enoughness. So, Brene Brown. Brene Brown talks about scarcity culture. And if you remember in the last video about gratitude, I talked about having this outlook, either from a scarcity point of view or an abundance point of view, not, as a life as a whole, but about yourself and about self-love, that love for yourself. Is there scarcity around it, or is there actually abundance around it? So Brene Brown talks about scarcity culture. And there's scarcity, and we don't believe that we are good enough. So that can look different for all of us, but it could be, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not educated enough, right? So probably most of us have a few of those lingering around. And then because we don't believe that we are something enough, we're just not good enough in some way, that makes us hustle for our worthiness. So instead of us being ourselves and knowing that, hey, whatever happens in this situation, I'm good enough as the person I am, it makes us figure out ways how we can hustle for the worthiness. And also what happens is that we shut off our vulnerability. Like, I can't be me because I'm not good enough as the me I am, right? The problem, of course, is that when we shut off our vulnerability and when we shut off ourselves, is that shutting off vulnerability also means that we're shutting off lots of fantastic good stuff, right? As Brene Brown talks about, vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity and innovation. Like, what happens to that? And can you love someone else without being vulnerable? And then I'd like to pose the question, can you love yourself without being vulnerable? Interesting question there. So, how do you hustle for your worthiness because you might not be thinking that you are enough in a certain way? Moving on to Marisa Pierre. Oh, what I want to say as well is up here somewhere, there's a link to a short interview or a segment of an interview where Oprah and Brene Brown are talking about hustling for your worthiness and the scarcity culture of I'm not enough. Marisa Peer talks about the biggest disease affecting humanity right now is the disease of I am not enough. And because we are walking around thinking that we are not enough, we are doing lots and lots of things in our lives which are not fulfilling for us at all, because we're just constantly trying to prove to ourselves that we are enough by external things, and that's not going to make us feel like we are enough. In this clip, which I have a link to somewhere here, she talks about a man who she meets and who is very discontent with life. He's in his third marriage, or I think he's divorced for the third time. He's heavily overweight. I think he abuses alcohol quite a lot. He's an alcoholic. He's won awards. He's got this massive house. He's got shitloads of money. But at the core of it, he doesn't feel enough. So nothing means anything. There's no meaning to anything that he's gathered around him. And once he starts working with this issue of not being enough, he actually finds the joy for life. He finds real love. He finds, that there's pleasure in simple things. You don't have to have the biggest mega luxury car that doesn't equate happiness. That doesn't make you feel enough. A mini is good enough to travel around in. So have a look at that one if you're not familiar with this whole concept of not enough. And now, of course, if we don't feel that we are enough, then what happens to that concept of self-love and that feeling of self-love? Because, of course, when we have that self-love, we know underneath all the layers that I am enough, whatever happens. I am good enough, whatever happens, right? So I said at the beginning 2 exercises. 1, spend a little bit of time with yourself, put on some good music, grab a cup of tea or something like that, and write down all the ways that you don't think that you are enough. Like, be honest with yourself. Like, you have to know the beast in order to tame it, right? In order to know what you're dealing with. So be honest with yourself. What are those excuses, if you're really honest with yourself, that you use? Like, oh, this hasn't happened because blah, 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 I'm not enough. Like, and that can sound like, well, if I had money, then that would work. Like, I'm not rich enough. If I was rich enough, then this would be it. Or, you know what, I'm not thin enough. Like, if I was thin enough, this would happen. Or actually, I'm not beautiful enough. If I was beautiful enough, then this would happen, right? List those not enoughs on that and in your journal or on a piece of paper. And then have a look at that and go, is that true? Like, is that really true? Is it? Just allow yourself to go, is that true? Right? Second thing is what Marisa Peer talks about, is write down, I am enough, everywhere. Our brain learns by repetition. And if we see something continuously all the time, it goes in, So on your bathroom mirror, I am enough. Bedroom mirror, I am enough. All around the walls, I am enough. Little post-it notes. In your screensaver, on your phone, reminders on your phone, I am enough, and I am enough. There's so many people who have created such transformation just by reminding themselves, I am enough, over and over and over and over again. And with many of these techniques, you think, oh, that's far too simple. It cannot be that simple. Well, actually it can, especially when there is that repetition to it. Of course, it might take other things as well, but that is a first step. So explore, what are your not enoughs? Allow yourself that time. And then put up post-it notes, put up screensavers. I am enough. Just experiment, see what happens, right? Next time, what are we doing next time? I have to look at my notes. Yes, we're going back to negativity bias, which I mentioned in one of the episodes. So have a look at all the other episodes if you haven't seen them. There's a few of them in this series already. And of course, the previous series, Knowing Yourself, 8 Keys to Knowing Yourself, about self-awareness. I'll see you next time. Bye now.